Okay. Looks like most of us are here this morning. Thank you so much for being here with Mrs. McLeod and I this morning. We had a really hard time deciding on what would be a good time to host coffee with the principals because we know you all have so much going on right now. It was our hope that with school starting at 8:30, maybe you could get your students logged on and ready for school, and then we could chat with you for just a minute about some questions and concerns you have based on our school's reopening plan. We know that it's hard for parents to attend events in the morning and even in the evening, so we are recording this for parents. We've also been able to put together an FAQ based on the questions and concerns you shared with us in advance. So everything that we're sharing with you this morning, we intend to share out with the rest of our community who couldn't attend with us this morning. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for adding some questions for us that we could start to address with you. We know that we still have a lot of questions and concerns that aren't able to be answered this morning, but we will continue to do our best to get those answered for you in a timely manner. A lot of the things we're still waiting for is just more clarification from the district and our school board about how we're going to move forward, especially with respect to school safety procedures and our instructional bell schedule. So as soon as we get those things, we'll share those out with our families. We know the sooner we can get the information to all of you, the better prepared you guys can be as we enter into our next phase of our school reopening plan. So with all the information we're sharing with you, I know it's a lot of back and forth and a lot of changes. And again, everything we're sharing with you this morning could be subject to change. We're acting on the information that we currently have right now from the county and from the state, as well as our district and our school board. So to answer your questions this morning is based on the current information we have. Hopefully it's not changing too much. Dr. Campbell did share some more recent communication with our families last night regarding our school's reopening dates. Today is a big day for us as we're watching if our county goes from red to purple, and we're hoping it doesn't go to purple, but if we do move to the purple tier, it will impact our start date slightly based on the communication that we have from Dr. Campbell. Our earliest reopening date would be October 28th. So the October 12th date that was initially presented was a tentative date to start with. The idea is that for the elementary schools, we want to start slow and reintroduce our students in different phases. So that October 12th date has now been moved to October 28th at the earliest, but the individual school sites are still awaiting further clarification from our district about when our actual reopening date will be. And of course, that's really dependent on our county data right now and making sure our COVID cases are staying as low as possible. Okay, so Mrs. McLeod and I have created a PowerPoint for you strictly based on the questions that you submitted to us in advance. If we have time at the end, we'd love to open this up to a Q&A if we haven't thoroughly answered the questions you've submitted in advance. Hopefully we have some answers for you, but if we don't, we will just take note of the questions that are coming in today so we can follow up with you again in a future communication to you. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so we have taken the questions that you've submitted in advance and provided some clarification for you based on our school's reopening plan. So our school's reopening plan as is a hybrid model. The school board voted on model 3, which is an A-B model for grades 1 through 5. And then it's an everyday program for our TK and kindergarten students. The school board did leave it up to some site context if we could add other grade levels to our everyday model. And we're looking at adding first grade. We're looking at doing this as a district rather than as a site. So far, all the sites would like to add first grade to their daily Tuesday through Friday schedule. So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll have some more clarity for you in the week ahead. Based on that information, we have answered some of your questions. So our first question was, assuming all of our kids go back to school and assuming that all the precautions will be taken, how will the restroom situation work? So we are currently working with the district. We have somebody joining us on September 30th, and she is going to come and walk the campus with us for 2 hours on the morning of the 30th. And she is going to help us essentially map out our travel routes for our students. We want to make sure that we are really maintaining a safe and orderly environment, and that everything we're doing is really strategic in helping maintain a safe social distance. So we know our students are going to need to be accessing outdoor spaces, and the bathroom is definitely one of them. So we are going to try to control the flow of traffic as best we can in the bathroom. Students will still be wearing their masks when they use the restrooms. If they are leaving the classrooms to use the restroom, the teacher will monitor that to make sure there's only one student going at a time. Of course, it'll be really hard for teachers to know which other students are in there at the same time from different classes, but we're going to do our best with respect to that. We're going to be walking the campus with our students in the first weeks back so that they feel comfortable getting around the campus safely in order to maintain a safe distance from each other. The district is providing us with signage that we're going to be putting on the ground with some arrows and some dots, so as students know which way to walk in certain areas of the campus, and then how far apart they need to be lined up from each other. The information I've included for you on this side comes straight from the San Diego County of Education, and that is the latest information we have from them. So again, this is subject to change, but as we get closer to reopening school, we will be sharing with you a very site-specific plan when it comes to safety and procedures that our students will be following here at school. We had another question asking if student does not test positive, but parents, siblings, and housemates test positive. So this actually has come up at one of our school sites, and we're following the current guidelines that say that if a student has come into close contact with a confirmed COVID-19 case, and they're counting close contact right now as less than 6 feet apart for more than 15 minutes, which tends to happen within a household. Students are to stay home, quarantined for 14 days from the last exposure, and get retested as a recommendation if they're able to do so. If somebody in the family tests positive for COVID, but the student is not testing positive for COVID, the school and the classroom will remain open.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to help Emily out so she doesn't have to talk the entire time. So the next question was, will the first graders be able to attend school daily along with TK and Kinder? And Emily did touch on this a little bit in her opening, but the school board has left it up to us for each site to extend the daily learning opportunities for all of our students. So we do understand that our youngest students require much more in-person instruction, and we want to be able to offer that. So we're hoping to add first grade to our daily AM/PM model Tuesday through Friday, but we're still awaiting the final approval from the district to move forward with this plan. It's definitely on the forefront of our minds, and our first grade teachers agree with us as well. So we cannot offer full day on campus due to the amount of students we have. Right now, our class sizes are about 24:1, and so with the class ratio size needing to be 18:1, all of our first grade classrooms will have that AM/PM model if we do decide to do the first grade students back. I think that's it for that one. You want to move it? There we go. Okay, and then the next question was, could you please clarify what the Monday remote learning day schedule will be, what the schedule will be for the 2 off-campus days, and what type of work will be provided for the 2 off-campus days? So our Monday instruction will remain the same. Right now it's 8:30 to 10:10 with our remote instruction, and we'll continue with that model. And then the 2 off-campus days will include asynchronous learning. So extension, review, remediation will be occurring in the classroom. And it may also include some live virtual instruction. So our specials, our PE, our music, our science, and our library will be on those days where they're not on campus and they're doing their asynchronous learning from home. As of right now, we're planning on having the students bring their Chromebooks to and from school so they can also practice their literacy and math skills. We do have a new iReady program for our math and our language arts, and so a lot of that is online. We also understand, though, that our students have been doing a lot of online learning at home, and we want to minimize the amount of online learning when they're actually on campus. So we haven't quite figured out the details with the Chromebooks, but our hopes are that they still can bring them back and forth. Of course, we're going to have to talk about the charging situation and making sure that they're safe in their backpacks, but that is our plan for now. Let me see if I touched on everything. I think that's it. Want to go to the next? There we go.
Okay, so what will the school day look like when the kids are at home and not at school? Since the teachers will be teaching the other cohort of kids, will it all be independent work? The time away from school is what we're calling asynchronous learning. So essentially it is going to be self-guided independent work. We've just begun this collaborative process with our teachers yesterday. We did just get the plan last Tuesday, and now that we have a plan moving forward, Mrs. McLeod and I believe strongly in the power of collaboration, and we really want our teachers to be heavily involved in designing the learning opportunities for our students, both when they're here in school with us and when they're away from us. So the time that our students are at home will be asynchronous learning. It will be independent learning opportunities. As Mrs. McLeod was just sharing, we will have access to our specials teachers, and we're hoping that could be live instruction for our students. We've also been talking with our teachers about how we can really connect our two cohorts together so that we still feel that sense of community within the classroom. So we're hoping that we can still connect our students when they're at home doing their learning to what's going on in the classroom. That may be in the form of a morning meeting where the class all meets together. But these are conversations that we've just kind of scratched the surface on, and we're going to continue to work on throughout the upcoming weeks to make sure that we have a really solid plan for our students so that they're not only making academic growth, but social emotional growth as well, because we know that that classroom community is so important, and having access to the teacher is so important for our students to feel connected and feel like they're supported. And so that's going to be at the forefront of our planning. Some things that they can work on, as Mrs. McLeod was talking about, is their iReady reading, iReady math, specials, social studies, student-paced lessons with language arts and math, some iReady lesson video libraries, Storyworks, mystery science, seesaw activities. There's a lot of things that our students can be working on independent of us at home. We can't pre-plan these activities too far in advance because we really want to make them meaningful for students. So we don't want to pre-record videos that are not connecting to the learning that they're doing in the classroom. We want to make sure that when they leave at the end of the school day, what they're doing the following day at home is truly an extension of the classwork they've done that day with their teacher. We have had a lot of requests for pod groups to be in the same cohort. We understand that this is an enormous task for all of you as well to support the learning of your students at home. And we really do value the partnership that we have created with you guys over this year. We need you now more than ever. And we know that as working parents, it is so hard to juggle everything with getting to work on time or working from home and getting your students on the computer and doing their learning. And it's really beautiful that you've been able to come together as a community to support each other with these learning pods. But it's going to be really very difficult for us to honor the learning pods that have already been established. We're going to try our best to support you through this whole process, but this is not an opportunity that we cannot necessarily honor at this time. Our priority for forming our cohorts is going to be to keep our siblings together. That was something that was mentioned at the school board that was important to them, that we cohort our siblings TK through 12. So we have started some conversations with our colleagues at the middle school and the high school to make sure that we are cohorting our students so that it's aligned K-12 for our families. And then we also need to really prioritize specializing, grouping our special needs students and our students with different needs. For example, with English language with the English language, different specials that our kids require. We're going to really need to make sure that we're grouping those students together to support their learning while they are at school. So once we start grouping our siblings, our students with special needs, that is the majority of our students. So it's going to be very hard for us then to go in and remake classes based on learning pods. But again, our teachers are going to be really heavily involved in this, and we're going to do our absolute best to support you, because we know that it's still going to be very hard even when we return to a hybrid model, having your students still at home 3 days a week or in the AM, PM. And so we're going to do everything we can to support you with that, but we just can't make any promises with respect to the learning pods at this time.
I
Go ahead.
Oh, is this
I was
you?
going to take this one, but you know what? You said everything in the slide before, so it's basically the same question. So we can just keep on going. I think the only thing to add is that we'll definitely make sure that we give you enough advance notice to plan for childcare options as soon as we have our class lists ready for you. And then I think I also touched on this too about our class sizes. Right now, we have to make sure we maintain that 18:1. So if the school is reopened with the same class size of 24, how can we be sure that students and teachers are safe? Again, we're following the guidelines. We can't reduce the class size by half, but we can do 18:1. And some of our classrooms have only 19 or 20 students. So we'll be reducing those obviously down to 10, 11, just depending on the alphabet, moving the classrooms based on this, or moving the class list based on the alphabet for the students in that grade level, and then the siblings. So we'll definitely try to keep it as small as possible. We do understand that the safety is the utmost concern when our students do come back onto campus.
Okay, so the process for dividing kids into the cohorts for the kinder AM PM and for the other grades on the on the AB days. Will kinder parents be given a preference if they want AM or PM like in the past years? Our kinder teachers already are planning on working very closely with our families to determine which families would have a preference over AM or PM. It's really hard to tell what the preference is going to be. I know in years past that we held a lottery to make sure we kept it fair for all of our families who are enrolled, but we know that this is just a really different year for our families. So we are going to start by taking into consideration our balanced classrooms and supporting our students with high needs. And then we're going to do our best to accommodate parents if they prefer the AM PM. We know it's really hard, especially if you have students in older grades that are coming every other day, and then you have kindergarten and potentially first grade coming for half the day. So we know it's additional juggling for our parents who have students in multiple grades and on different schedules. So we're going to do our best to support you through all of this. It's probably not going to be flawless, but we'll do our best to support you. Is there any help you'd like from families that you could help with the reopening plan? We did get a few of these questions, so thank you so much. It really meant a lot to Mrs. McLeod and I. It's been a lot of planning over the past few months. We've kind of been in that hurry up and wait phase because we've just been awaiting direction on how to even put everything together. But truly the best thing you can do right now is just to have some ongoing conversations with your students, for your students who are returning to school, because school is going to look different, but we really want it to feel the same. We want them to feel happy. We want them to feel like they have ownership here. We want them to have their friendships here. So we want school to feel the same, but it's definitely going to look different. So the earlier you can start having those conversations with your students about the requirements that we're going to have with respect to wearing masks and having social distance. Lunch is going to look very different. Recess is going to look very different. We did get some questions about lunch and recess. Unfortunately, at this time, our students cannot intermingle and we cannot use playground equipment. So we're going to have to get very creative out on the playgrounds with respect to what kids can do. I know our kids just love giving hugs and high fives to each other. And so the earlier that you can just have these conversations with your kids and make them feel at ease, then I think the better things will go for all of us, because we want your kids to be happy to be back and not feel kind of a sense of anxiety about if they're back, they might get sick. So we're doing everything we can to keep things safe. So if you could do everything you can just to help reassure your students, that would go a really long way with all of us.
Okay, I think this is a big question that I've been thinking about as well. So will drop-off pickup be staggered by grade, and will it be drive-up only or walk-up as well? And what if families have multiple students in different grades? This is definitely something that's weighing on us, because we all know, if you've been at our school before in the past, that there's a lot of students coming in and off campus and pickup, and walk up, it's all pretty chaotic. And so we want to make sure that we're maintaining that safety and the safe distance as we're coming to and from school. We're not going to be staggering our times based on instructional time. So we want to make sure that our students are coming in. They're not going to be congregating in front of the school and waiting for the gates to be open. The gates are going to be open and the students are going to be coming through the gates and going directly to their classroom. So that buzz and hype and fun of the morning time when they're coming to school and they're getting their wiggles out and getting ready to go into the classroom, unfortunately, is just not going to happen until we can all come back safely. So we're going to make sure that we have our 15-minute window. Students can be dropped off and picked up through the car line, and they also can walk and bike to school. We're going to have to figure out our bike lock situation as well, kind of like a social distancing. If you think of the airport or things where you park your bike and you have a couple stalls open or seats open, it's going to be around that same idea, and we're figuring that out with the district on the district level. They are going to be walking straight into their classroom, and we're going to have 5 different entry and exit points broken up alphabetically, so siblings can walk in together. So say their last name is A through C, they'll walk through one gate, and D through E or F will walk through another gate, and those again are just little things that we have not figured out exactly, but we will have 5 different entry and exit points, and they'll know where to go. We'll have a map. We're going to shoot it out to everybody, make sure everybody has an idea of how that's going to go, and it's going to take some time. I think we're going to really, it's trial by error as we open up the school. So we just appreciate patience. We appreciate you following our guidelines as we get closer to our reopening, and of course offer any questions and concerns you may have. The back gate will stay open as well in the morning and in the afternoon. We do have a lot of families that come down through the trails, and we want to make sure that that is also accessible, so they are able to come through the back gate as well. And again, at the end of the day, we're going to have to work with our teachers to put our students in cohorts for their pickup as well. So again, a work in progress. And I always say, like, a lot of times you have a perfect plan in your head and then you go to execute it and you have to tweak things. So again, as everything with this year, patience and support would be amazing as we figure out our drop off and pickup. Do you anticipate any in-person student groups meeting on campus? For example, our student council. We are all about student voice at our school. We love the different energy that the groups create here at SEAS, and we want to make sure that we're also providing that. So right now, our district is not allowing us the ability to hold any in-person student group meetings, but we're getting really good with Zoom and creating those groups that way. So our hopes are, as soon as we can figure out when we're coming back and getting our students back on campus, we're going to engage in some virtual offerings for our students to collaborate with each other and create some clubs that they love to be in. So, I mean, we have the lunch bunch. We had, a lot of students who would go into makerspace, and we want to create those opportunities for them. And of course, our student council is a huge part of our school, and we want to create that as well. So we are working on that, and we'll definitely let you know when we can create some groups for them. But most likely it'll be through Zoom until we can all return safely. Oops.
Do you foresee offering Fit Kids or KOC at SEAS as an option for before or after school care? We know the value of these programs to our community. Mrs. McLeod and I are also working moms, and we're struggling right now to balance everything as well. So I know I've been calling every preschool I can find right now for availability for my own son, and everything's booked. So we would love to be able to offer some before and after school care for our students. Unfortunately, we just can't at this time. We don't have the green light from the district. The guidelines for childcare, the restrictions are very rigid, and it's not something that we can meet right now. I know it's something that the district is having ongoing conversations about to see what we can do to provide some support for our families, because we know the challenges of being working parents, and we want to really support you, especially for our students students who are not here with us every day or every morning or afternoon, we know the juggling act it's going to require for all of us. So as we get clarity about opening our before and after school programs, we will definitely share that out with you. I know Joan from Fit Kids, we worked very closely in the spring because we knew that with our extended day kindergarten program, our kindergartners would be at school for one less hour than the rest of our kids. And so she created a really nice program to support that extended day kinder program, which unfortunately we weren't able to launch. But I know Fit Kids is ready to go. KOC is ready to go as soon as we get the green light. So hopefully we'll have some more clarity for you in the upcoming months as our health guidelines continue to shift and change, and hopefully we make some progress with our COVID-19. What will be the procedure for classes should a teacher or child test positive for COVID-19? How will families be informed, and will there be a set protocol that is published and followed? The information that we are currently operating on has come from the county. And so again, this is something that's subject to change as our pandemic progresses and hopefully lightens. But currently, if there's a positive case in a classroom from a student or staff, the classroom would be sent home and quarantined for 14 days. Again, we're following that less than 6 feet, more than 15 minutes of exposure guideline. If 5% of the school, the students and staff combined, test positive, the school is closed for in-person learning. If 25% of the schools in the district close due to positive cases, the district closes for in-person learning. Communication about positive cases will occur to the entire school community when they occur. Any specifics that could identify the person or persons would not be included due to privacy laws. In addition, if anyone on campus is known to have been in close contact, again, that's 6 feet for 15 minutes with a person diagnosed with COVID-19, that person will receive personal communication and will need a quarantine for 2 weeks. It's also important to note the decisions to close a class, school, or district for in-person learning would be done in consultation with the public health, and timelines and data points identified are based on the current guidelines. And again, these are subject to change. So the information we're sharing with you today is what we're currently acting upon. Once we return to school at the end of October or early November, these could change. And if it does change, we will certainly communicate that information to our families.
Is the week of October 12th through 16th still planned to be minimum days and conference week? Typically in the middle of October, we have that Monday off, and then the 4 days after that are half days, and we have our families and students come onto campus, and our students are engaged with our teachers and the parents in a conference. And so right now we're currently, this is an item of discussion, Teachers Union and our district. There's been a lot of discussion about moving this week since most of our families and our teachers have been in such close communication already throughout this school year. So as soon as we have that confirmation one way or the other, we will be sharing out that information with our families. And then the 600 building, that's those of you who are new to our school, the 600 building is our 2-story building, and it doesn't have any windows or doors. So it houses kindergarten, our Montsevier program, and our 5th graders. So right now, that's been a big concern actually since school closed in March. It's our maintenance department at the district level has been working very closely about providing some air filtration systems that would function better since those windows do not open, especially on the 2nd floor. So we are in works with that. I know that we have multiple newer schools. All the new schools don't have windows that open for safety concerns on the 2nd floor. So this is something that's huge in our district on the forefront on how we're going to maintain that adequate ventilation, and we're working on it with at the district level to ensure that the students have safe air to be breathing when they're in those classrooms.
No, we touched on this briefly. Will the kids be able to interact on the playground with their friends from other classes? Unfortunately, right now we have guidance from the district saying that our students cannot intermingle. So currently the California Department of Public Health has directed that schools are to limit sharing of objects or equipment. Playground equipment is specifically identified. When shared use is allowed, items are to be cleaned and disinfected between use. In addition, parks and recreation guidelines specify that playgrounds should remain closed. So based on that information, our recess schedules always go back to back to back with each other. And so we would not have ample opportunity to get in there and wipe down all of our equipment between student use. So we are following the California Department of Public Health guidelines right now with respect to this. We are limiting the number of classrooms who are on the playground at the same time, but we are being asked to section off the playground into different sections and to keep classes together. So we're not quite sure what that's going to look like right now. We know the strategic aspect behind it and sectioning off the playground. We're going to have to get creative on what we can encourage our students to be doing when they are in their sections of play if they don't have access to playground equipment. And we still want them to keep kind of a safe distance from each other, even in outdoor space. So we are going to have to get creative with this. We welcome some feedback about what our students can do on the playground to keep them still engaged and still active, but in the safest way possible. Okay, and our final question is, can we use outdoor space for instruction? When COVID-19 first hit schools and we were trying to get really creative about ways that we could reopen schools, a lot of schools initially thought to rent some tents and have some outdoor classes because that we know that it's safer for all of us to be outside than sitting inside. But this is not something that we're moving forward with on a permanent basis, having classrooms outside. Our teachers will have access to outdoor spaces throughout the day for different groups that they might have going on throughout their day, but the bulk of the instruction is still going to be in the classroom because our teachers need access to the materials that they use to instruct the students, like their computers and their document cameras, their projectors. All of their instructional materials are so valuable to the instruction that we have in the classroom. So students will primarily still be in our classrooms at a safe distance. Again, we've really reduced the number of students that are going to be in the classroom at one time, but they will have access to outdoor spaces throughout the campus throughout the day. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That is all based on the questions and concerns that you submitted to us in advance. Mrs. McLeod and I do have some time if you'd like to enter some questions into the chat, and we can do our best to see if we can answer those for you. Does anybody have any additional questions for us at this time that we can try to answer for you or follow up on for you? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wish we had more concrete information for you, but Mrs. McLeod and I really value communication and transparency, and we are going to try our best to get you information as we have it. Something that's really important to us is just figuring out what that instructional day is going to look like, what our bell schedule is going to look like, and then which cohort your students are going to be in, because we know how hard it is for you guys at home to balance everything right now. So the more information we can get you as soon as possible, we're going to do our absolute best to do that. So thank you so much for your continued patience with us as we work through all of this. You know, we couldn't do it without your partnership. So we're so grateful for all of you this morning and for your continued guidance you're providing for us. Please continue to submit your questions and concerns for us. It's really, your feedback is really valuable for us as we start to carve out our plan forward, really. And we want to do our best to really support you through this process. So please continue to communicate with us, and we'll do our best to respond to you in a timely fashion. Mrs. McLeod?
I have a couple questions in here.
Oh, okay.
Julie's asking, what about PTO cash for kids? And is there a way to provide some quantifiable way parents can feel their dollars are going to help reopening the schools?
Okay. I know we do have some of our PTO moms on here. Are any of you comfortable responding? Vanessa?
Our president is here. Jody is here. She might want to answer. Jody, do you want to take the lead on that?
What exactly, I'm sorry, what were they asking about Cash for Kids, or where does the funds go?
They're curious about where the funds are intended to go if they're donating to Cash for Kids.
Okay, well, we're, for this year, because our year looks different, of course. So this year it's going towards the science teacher, and we've funded some supplies for PE and also for music. So those should be coming out soon. And then we're also hoping at some point we still have the art teacher in our budget. So hopefully when we get back to campus, we'll fund that. But we also, but we always fund for the future years as well. So we're hoping next year to have science, art, maybe some tech programs that we can bring back. We're hoping to maybe do a library remodel in the future that had been in the plans last year, but we weren't able to do it. So, and we're always open to suggestions too. So if you know somewhere that you would like the funds to go to, feel free to email the PTO or attend any of the PTO meetings as well.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Jody.
you.
I know something else that we had talked about with respect to PTO funds this year was also the possibility of exploring a full-time social worker for our students, especially in our times of uncertainty. We really want to support our students with their social emotional well-being. And so that's something that's really important to the teachers and I, is to make sure that our students are always well supported, not only academically, but with their social emotional well-being. Ms. McLeod, are you saying there was a couple?
Yeah,
more
there's another
questions?
question about lunch, and it's a great question. This question says, I know they can't play at recess, but how will they have lunch? Only take in their lunch and sit in their classroom at their desk? No, they're actually going to be able to sit at the lunch tables. We're sectioning off, of course, 6 feet apart and staying within their cohort. We're going to have some colored, we haven't quite figured out exactly how we're going to identify the tables, but we're thinking of our colors of our school of black and yellow, and they'd either be on a yellow dot or a black dot sitting at the table. So we'll have 3 students at one table. Our tables are really long. So socially distancing and staying within their cohort, that is possible. So they will sit outside. We're still figuring out exactly how long our lunch is going to be. We're working with the other principals in the district about that. Right now it's looking around about 35-minute lunch break. Again, that's subject to change. Students are able to go into the cafeteria and do a grab and go. There's a very high chance that they're going to have like 2 different options, and they grab and go if you want them to buy lunch. And of course, they're always able to bring their own lunch to school as well. And then what is the furniture set up in the classrooms? Is it possible to leave all the desks inside so each child only touches and sits in their own space? Can you go into more detail on the setup, please? Yeah, so we're actually taking out all extra furniture and some desks. So we looked at the size of each classroom, and we looked at the class list of each classroom. And so most classes will only have, like our K through 3rd grade will only have 15 or less desks in the classroom at a time. And then our upper grades will have no more than 18 desks in the classroom, and all of their furniture will be taken out and stored in one of our storage closets or extra classrooms. So there'll be a lot of room for them to walk in and move around, and they will all be separated. So the classes, if you've looked online, you can probably see how other schools across the state and country have set up their classrooms. So just visualize, and we'll send pictures. I was actually thinking, I haven't even really talked to Emily about this, but doing some videos for the students so we can push those out so they can kind of see, like, this is what your classroom's going to look like, and give them a little, like, lessen their anxiety so they know what they're going to be coming into. And then also for the parents, because we won't be having parents come onto campus. We are still continuing with the closed campus. So we do want to make sure you all see how their learning environment's going to look. And we also want our teachers to make sure that they're part of of setting up their classroom as well. So it's going to take a lot of work, but Luke, our head custodian's already starting to move desks. So we're getting there, and we'll let you know.
All right, there was a question about, will the students have the same teachers? Yes, they will have the same teachers that they've had this whole school year. We are not planning on moving around any teachers. We did lose about 100 students this year with our schools reopening. We have some students who elected to go to private and charter. And so it's really hard to anticipate how many students will plan to return once we do reopen. But the students who are currently enrolled will not be moving classrooms.
Julie, we don't know when they're gonna announce the alphabet for what Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday. I'm assuming it'll be fairly soon. There's many meetings happening right now. I know the union is meeting too with the district today to go over a lot of this as well. So hang tight on that. Thank you, Brooke, for offering for support with the custodial team. Unfortunately, right now, we're not allowed to have anybody come on campus, but your support verbally is so well appreciated. And we're hoping to hire another custodian. The district is wanting to put another custodian in every site to support with the cleaning and the setup. So we're hoping to have somebody soon.
And just to extend on that, we will not open school until we have adequate custodial support here at school, because keeping our students safe once they're with us is our priority here. So we will need to hire another daytime lead custodian to help with disinfecting between the AM PM classes, making sure our bathrooms are constantly being cleaned, shared spaces such as door handles are constantly being wiped down. So it's going to be all hands on deck for us here, and we know we need some more support before we can reopen our school. Okay, and then there was a question about what if our school does have to close, or what if the district does have to close? What's our plan B? What are we going to fall back to? We know that some other schools in the county have reopened and they have had some positive test results. So this is going to be something that we're going to continue to work on as a district about what happens if we reopen and then we have to quickly shut down again. This has kind of been why our school board has really proceeded with caution. I know it's been really frustrating for all of us to not have a plan moving forward, but our school board really did not want to be the trailblazers when it came to reopening school. They didn't want us to be the first and then find ourselves in the if-then scenario. They really wanted to learn from other districts moving forward about what they're doing well and what they're doing in case something happens. So we're going to continue to watch how other schools are handling these situations across the county. And we're going to follow the lead of our district and our school board when it comes to if we have to shut down, the what next. So we don't have a definitive answer on that, but I do anticipate we would go back to our remote learning like we have been doing this whole school year, and then plan accordingly. So hopefully we don't get there. We really want to be back in school just as much as anybody. Mrs. McLeod and I are so lonely here without all of your sweet children. So we're really excited to reopen, but we do want to do it, as safe as possible. Okay, I think Mrs. McLeod, I think we got all the questions.
I think so.
Okay, so this isn't a one and done, so please keep your questions coming and we can answer those for you, and we will share that out again in our Sunday newsletters with all of you. And then as we get ready to reopen again, we'll again host another coffee with the principals to answer any questions you have based on any information that might have changed or any ongoing concerns you have. So we're really well prepared on that day that we finally get to reopen our doors and welcome all your children back. So thank you so much for your time this morning. Again, we will be sharing this recording and an FAQ with all of our families who are not able to attend. So thank you so much for your engagement with us this morning, and we hope to see you guys all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.